Good morning, Paul here, and today I'm going to be flying nonstop from London Heathrow Airport to Seattle, Washington on Virgin Atlantic in the premium economy cabin. It's about a 9-hour flight, so it's not too bad, but it'll be nice to see what this version of Virgin Atlantic is like. I flew them last year in regular economy and they were great, so I'm hoping for a really good experience today. And just a reminder, if you enjoy videos about flying and travel, please consider clicking on the subscribe button and also consider clicking on the bell so that you'll be notified when a future video is posted. This is Records Travels. Let's take a trip. My journey today is going to take me from London's Heathrow Airport across the Atlantic back home to Seattle, Washington. It's going to take a little over 9 hours and I'm going to fly almost 5,000 miles. Virgin Atlantic is one of several airlines that depart out of Heathrow Airport's Terminal 3. So the first thing you need to do is figure out where to go in order to get checked in, and that is through door A. Once inside, it feels quite chaotic. It's a very, very busy area, but there are plenty of employees there to help point you in the right direction, and I was checked into the premium economy line in no time and on my way through security. After clearing security, the airport is set up so that you have to walk through the duty-free shopping area in order to get to the rest of the terminal. But if you want to grab any last-minute gifts, you certainly can do so. Then in Terminal 3, you're in a centralized waiting area, and the gates aren't posted until approximately 1 hour before the departure time. So all of the shops and everything are located in this centralized area, so it's extremely crowded and really not a pleasant place to be. Once your flight's departure gate is posted, you can head towards the gate, but remember, once you do, there's very little in terms of shops or services past the centralized waiting area. Checking my flight information one more time on the departures board, I see that my flight's going out of gate number 22 here in Terminal 3. Which, as this infograph tells me, it is about a 20-minute walk. And it is a long walk indeed. In fact, you'll see signs even telling you that you're passing the last bathroom, and even that's a significant distance from gate 22. And then once you're there, you're basically stuck in a holding pen. And there's nowhere to go, there's no bathrooms, there's no food or drink or anything like that. But fortunately, they do start boarding the flight fairly quickly after everybody's there, and you can get in and get settled on the airplane as soon as possible.
Good morning. To go across and then to the right.
Thank you so much. As soon as you enter this Boeing 787-900, you're struck by how beautiful it is, and the lighting really enhances that as well. This is the premium economy cabin, which is in a 232 configuration. That makes it much more desirable than the economy cabin, which is a 333 configuration across. So this is a lot more comfortable. And waiting at the seat is a set of headphones, a blanket, and a pillow. And taking a look at the legroom on these seats, you can see you've got 38 inches of pitch and a 21-inch wide seat, which is quite comfortable and plenty of leg room. And again, the added benefit of only having one seatmate instead of two, as you would in the regular economy cabin. Premium economy passengers are also treated to a welcome drink prior to departure, which is always a nice touch. And again, just taking a look around the cabin, the lighting really adds to the atmosphere and just makes it such a pleasant experience to be on board this aircraft. Notice also the large screens on each of the individual seats. So one last look at Heathrow's air traffic control tower as we push back and get ready to depart.
aisles and exits
Almost immediately after we took off, the flight attendants came around and provided a drink service, and I started off with a gin and tonic and a bag of pretzels. So because this flight was a midday departure, the meal that we were going to be served was, of course, lunch. And a menu was provided with a couple of different options for you to choose from, and unlike Delta, where the meal was chosen ahead of time via email, you had to hope that your selection was available. And I wanted the stir-fried pork, which I managed to get. And even though it doesn't look that great, it actually hit the spot and was a pretty good meal, and I was very happy with it. So no complaints there. Again, it doesn't look that great, but it sure tasted good, so I was happy about that. Let's take a quick peek at the in-flight entertainment system. And again, you had a very large touchscreen. And within that, you had an option to choose any number of movies, television programs, listen to music, play games, and my favorite, which is of course the mapping option that allows you to take a look at the flight as you're in progress. And so on Virgin Atlantic, it's called the Sky Map, and it shows you this large global perspective that makes you feel like you have the whole world in your hands, where you can kind of tilt things around. And so you can see here, we're just about to pass over to Greenland. The other thing I thought was really cool about this is that there were an option for you to choose a variety of views to kind of see the progress of your flight. And I thought that was really neat. So it was kind of fun to just go through and check out the different perspectives of the flight. And the fact that it shows the plane as a fully visible Virgin Atlantic aircraft, I think was really, really neat and added to the experience. And the fact that you could look out the left window or the right window or out the cockpit view and see an altimeter and one that showed you the speed of the aircraft, I thought was just a really neat feature. And just, I can play with this sort of thing for hours and hours, and it keeps me entertained, and I always love to see where we're at in terms of the progress of the flight. So this was great fun, and it's a really nice feature to have to occupy some time on the flight. Now, one thing that's different about being on a 787 aircraft is that there are no window shades. The windows are very large, but if you want to effectively pull the virtual shade, you have to push the button. And when you do, notice it doesn't happen right away. It actually takes a couple of minutes for that to actually kick in and for the window to go black. And so I pushed the buttons and kind of waited and was in the progress of watching a movie. And again, check out the cabin lighting. It just makes it so pleasant. And you can see passengers on the opposite side of the aircraft had their windows in various stages of openness, and now mine finally was shaded fully dark. And again, if you want to open it back up, it takes a few minutes in order for that to happen. So it's not instantaneous. So people either love or hate those kind of windows. Now we're about 2 hours outside of Seattle, and the flight attendants come through with what I would describe as a snack service. It was essentially a couple of cookies, pastries, and a couple of small sandwiches, along with a cup of coffee, which, after being on a plane at this point for about 6.5 hours, it definitely comes in handy. And the sandwiches were fine, no complaints, but not really anything special about them. And after the snack service was complete, it didn't take very long before we were getting ready to descend and land in Seattle. Just prior to landing, the flight attendants came through and passed out candy to all the passengers, which I thought was a nice treat. So as we touched down in Seattle, some thoughts about my experience on this Virgin Atlantic flight. First of all, the seat was very, very comfortable, and again, it was great to only have one seatmate as opposed to two. And the crew was absolutely fantastic. They were top-notch, professional, courteous, looked after your every need, and made the flight a very, very positive and enjoyable experience. They were probably some of the best flight attendants I can ever remember having on a flight, so I was very pleased with that. I would definitely fly with Virgin Atlantic again.